we went live is that I've been on keto for quite some time now. And I was thinking, oh, I'll just have my birthday off. But no, my husband organized a monk-free sweetener, gluten-free, everything-free cake. And it was actually delicious.
You never quite know. I the whole birthday cake gluten-free thing, obviously we're getting married this year and we had the engagement stuff last year, and we have about 10 amazing friends who all have some version of food intolerance or complete allergies or like full-on EpiPen allergies. So we're always very, very mindful of food intolerances. And we got years and years ago, complete segue from bite-sized business, I was doing the wedding cake for my niece because I was working at the Crown Casino in Melbourne, and the chef there was phenomenal. And he made me the best chocolate mud cake I've ever seen. Had a gluten-free, amazing chocolate mud cake. But it was back in the day when no one really would like them, but it was the best thing. And I remember it was 13 kilos. And I carried it from Melbourne to Sydney on the plane on Jetstar at the time. And it was incredible. But it was one of those cakes where you go, you'll never get it that good again. So I totally appreciate having to do gluten-free, sugar-free, all the things, and still try and get good cakes.
You're very good to be thinking about catering for everyone. I'm not sure these days I would anymore. I think I'd think, well, it's my wedding. I'm going to have a beautiful cake that I want to eat. Happy days.
Oh, for our wedding cake, we're just doing all the good things in the cake and having some sides for others. So, but
Yeah,
that's
good
it.
on.
It's still, but it's funny. It's that topic today. We're talking about hyper personalization of marketing, but that's really a great example of when you're running events, if you're doing things, is having that kind of your customer in mind or your guest in mind, and going, what do we do to make this experience incredibly personal for them so that they feel like or know that you've actually listened to them and engaged with them. And that's really what we're talking about with hyper personalization.
It sure is. And look, yesterday, my daughter and I were doing the nitty-gritty planning of our trip that we're heading off on in 2 weeks, around the South Island in a camper van. And we both agreed at the end of the day that next time we're just going to book a cruise again because A, it's so much cheaper, and B, you just book one thing and off you go. But this has just been a mammoth undertaking, and super fun, but very big amount of work. But what's been interesting about it is that I have been inundated with ads for the last 24 hours because I've been on all these sites looking at things, trying to book this, book that, etc. Some have done it incredibly well and targeted me brilliantly, literally to the point that I get that reminder, or I get that ad pop up and I go, yes, I'm in. Others have done it so badly, and it's so much just about their language a lot of the time and making me feel quite overwhelmed with it. And so I really get what people say when they say that they feel like they're being targeted in a negative way, that they feel like they're being tracked and followed, that they're being listened in on, etc. And at the end of the day, that's what retargeting is all about. However, doing it well and doing it really poorly makes all the difference in how the customer sees it.
Oh, sorry, I completely agree. And I think it's how you target them and make that personalization so it doesn't feel icky and it doesn't feel like you're being stalked, in your sleep. And I think that's the balance, isn't it, of trying to have this kind of marketing strategy, whether you call it, it's essentially just really good customer focused marketing strategy. And someone's come up with this great name of hyper personalization, which makes us feel a little bit like I'm being stalked through my social media. And every time I talk, like even with our Google Nest at home, our little kind of Google speaker, we're like, do we want to have the mic on? Because I know she's listening to me when it's on. But you have that all the time, whether it's on your iPhone, whether you're playing on Facebook, whether you stop for that split second on an ad that you don't really like, but now it appears forever because the algorithms and the way the system's set up is that it's trying to manage your behavior and monitor what you're doing. And I think it's really a part of what we do, the way that we, in the environment that we're operating in. But the question, I think, is how do we make it so it doesn't feel icky and it doesn't feel like that inadvertent kind of stalking? It becomes focused on the needs of customers. I mean, that's the key kind of balance that we're trying to achieve, isn't it?
I would say, firstly, as marketers for our businesses, we need to make sure that we're not just running one ad. because when I go to your page or go to your website and you've got, your pixel on, etc., so then I am going to be followed and I'm going to be shown that ad from you. That's great, because clearly I was interested enough to look in the first place, then it's going to come and show me. But if you've only got that one ad being shown to me all the time, then I am going to feel just, excuse me, overwhelmed. It's too much. But if you've got a clever strategy and you've got multiple ads and ad sets, then what's going to show to me is going to be a whole lot more enjoyable, because they're going to have different messages, different graphics, different videos, and it's going to be something that feels more like an organic news feed than your ad popping up at me constantly trying to just hard sell.
Yeah, and I think, and I've noticed that at the moment with this kind of the way some of the targeting is done, is that it is a little bit kind of I'm being bombarded rather than, and even the personalization of it is in a way that it's set up so it doesn't feel natural. It just feels like someone set up the auto-generated, someone stopped on you for a split second, and here's a generic ad or a generic post or something that gets sent. Michael got that recently, my partner got that recently, when he paused on an ad, didn't even click on it, paused on an ad. And because of the way the algorithms are working, he ended up actually getting an email from them through Facebook saying, hey, we noticed that you looked at our ad. Are you interested? He's like, I don't even remember touching this. But because of that kind of way the algorithm at the back end is sitting, that even if you pause for a moment, you're getting content, you're getting connected. And that to me is that kind of that's where it's kind of gone wrong. You want someone to actually have done something and interacted more than just that split second to really justify popping into their emails, I think, anyway.
And you know what? That's a really interesting point. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, something came up around a keto thing, and I went and had a look at it. I thought, oh, that's an interesting concept. So you could actually pay to get meals made, frozen, and delivered to you. And I thought, on the whole, are you okay?
Just having a little tech issues for 1 second. I'm just gonna 1 sec. Sorry.
I'll keep telling my story for then. So what happened is that I kept so I saw this thing and I thought, oh, that could be interesting just to have in the freezer for times when I haven't had time to cook, etc. So what happened was I went into the site, I looked, and then it said, when you got to checkout, it said this is only available for in the cities, and I live in a tiny little village. So I thought, oh, bummer, and I went off it. Now, a mistake that they've done is to be constantly sending me emails now. In the last 24 hours, I've received 6 already. And in fact, it wasn't even 24 hours, but I've received 6 in under 24 hours saying, you left this in your cart. I just pulled up my emails now to be able to read some of the subject lines. It's like, why have you been so silly was one of the subject lines. The next thing is they've offered me $25 off. But what they're forgetting is that they're wasting that on me, because all they're doing is annoying me now because they're not delivering to a regional area. So yes, I would have, except I can't. So it's a really interesting one. And I certainly won't be the only one in that situation, given that they're only sending to cities. So is that customer service thorough, or is it just at this point just downright annoying? It's downright annoying. So
and I think what you're touching on there, and sorry, I had some technical issues. We had power come on and off, and everything just kind of went a bit funny then. The issue I think there is that it's not customer service. It just becomes that kind of annoying ad that pops up on television that you don't want to see, but it's forced upon you and you have to watch it. But using language that says, don't be silly, there's for many people, that's like horrible triggering words, right? I totally see that when you see marketing, and I've got a number of emails as a US-based marketer who I signed up to get one of those kind of, let's watch your pre-video, your sales video for 20 minutes. And I get anywhere between 1 and 6 emails in a 24-hour period from them consistently. And it always has that negative language of don't be silly. What are you doing? And it's that kind of really negative kind of marketing language, because they're playing heavily into that scarcity mindset. And that kind of overly scarcity mindset marketing for me doesn't work for you. It just says, sorry, I don't want to play in that space.
Absolutely. And then there's this whole thing around e-commerce where a lot of people are doing it, where if you put something into checkout or into your cart and then you don't check out, now that's not necessarily because you've changed your mind. It's like you were distracted and went off and made a cup of tea or whatever happened. So I love that everybody's setting up these great automated emails to send you, and you can set your time, etc., of when you want it to come at you. However, I think there can possibly be a mistake that people are making on the regular, which is offering me a discount if I've left it in the cart, because I'm hearing too often now that people are now doing it on purpose just to wait for that little extra discount to come through. And so we've lost the element of surprise then, haven't we?
I think so. And also that it reeks of that kind of desperation sale. And
Yes.
it sort of says to me, well, why is it becoming quite so kind of, desperate about, if I leave it, I might be pausing, I might be looking, I might be price matching, I might be doing lots of different things. So tell me it's still there. Sure, send to me, hey, just letting you know, did you forget it? Don't forget it. If it was a sale day, I like it, particularly if a 24-hour sale day or the end of a sale period, they're saying, hey, this sale ends at this day, so make sure you get it in by then. But when it is just immediate, and generally I'm finding it's in with only a couple of hours, not even a day, it's 3 to 4 hours, I'm getting this discount. Why would I not just do it in the morning, come back in the afternoon and get 20% off? It is becoming, I agree with you. I mean, Vistaprint's been doing that for years. They're getting better at that. I find it's not as, I mean, we use them for bits and pieces, and we find it's not as regular now as it used to be. And I think they've started to realize people we'll just simply wait till they get their 20, 30, 40, 50% off emails before they purchase. And I guess when you're looking at volume, it doesn't matter, and your profit margins are high and your business model is set up that you're essentially over marketing already, you're overpricing already to allow for those discounting. But as a standard business model, if you just made it 10% cheaper all the time, maybe I'd buy it more often. So there's that kind of balance in the marketing.
You're just devaluing, aren't you, when you're just constantly on sale, and we want to do better than that. Also, another thing around language, and that is that there was this post in one of those Facebook groups with bazillions of business women in it, trying to get support, etc. And it really actually made me quite sad. She said she had some pictures of her products, which were just stunning, they're all handmade. And she said, I've spent so many hours creating all of these, and then I've put them in my shop and now no one's buying. And, how long can I go on for like this for? Anyway, I thought, oh, how awful is that? So anyway, I went and I looked at her website on my phone purposely, because that's where most people would be looking for her as a B2C. And it was just a terrible, terrible website. Her photos were really, really bad. It wasn't going to entice me to sell, but also all the pictures that she'd put into the group were not on her website. So even if you looked at what was in the group and then you wanted to buy them, you couldn't. So people were going back into the group and saying, oh, I'd really like this one, but I can't find it online. And she's like, oh, well, I'll private message you. It was almost really like a tactic that she'd done, but it was so negative and it was so boohoo, poor me. And I just felt like what could have been better was asking advice for, has anyone got any great tips on how I can improve my marketing to increase my sales, as opposed to, boo-hoo, I've put all this effort and no one's buying. It's the same message in a way, but I mean, it's the same outcome you're wanting in a way, but it's a completely different way of approaching it.
And I think it's that idea of, and we've talked about this, I think, pretty for the last 2.5 years, is that marketing isn't about how great your product is, it's how great you can tell other people your product is, right? And if you might think it's the best thing in the world, but if you cannot communicate that clearly with your market, if you're not actually thinking about your market and you're putting that customer centric focus, which we see in so many companies' value statements and alignment statements, but then it gets down to it, and are you really customer focused? For me, we've had this conversation about me being a PC girl for my entire life. And now, because I'm traveling so much and I'm using so many things, I have gone to the dark side and I bought my first MacBook, which is actually phenomenal. And I have to kind of be quiet and just shudder a little bit that I'm no longer a PC girl. However, what I do love about it is the support. And there's this customization, and that's something that, and this is not a promotion particularly for Apple, but I think in terms of the way they manage their customer support, they know who you are through the way they've set up the system, through your Apple ID. Everything is connected. So when you're talking to them, they already have that knowledge and that information of what you're playing on, what devices you have. So now I'm already kind of past that know and trust and know and like relationship into trust, because they can say, hey, which device are you working on that you're having a problem with? Is it your iPad or your iPhone, or is it your Mac? Great, it's your MacBook. Tell me what the problem is. And so because of that customization, that over kind of personalization of that service, it means that I know I'm getting straight to the point. I'm not having to spend 25 minutes on the phone finding a serial number like I've had to do in many other times in my PC world on a different laptop brand. But I didn't have to do that on the weekend because we had a small challenge on the weekend just in terms of attaching new screens. And so it was 5 minutes through a support chat. I decided not to call, and it was literally resolved in 7 minutes via chat. Now I haven't had that same experience, but it's that hyper personalization of the way they've set up their customer service backend, the way they've managed their integrations, that I'm already in the family. I already know what it's about straight away. And then them checking on me, an hour later to say, how did you go? Is everything okay? Did that work? Again, yes, it's over personalization, and they would be triggers. There's a whole back end system and a really good customer service system. Anyone who's worked in a call center knows that it's all automated prompts that a human is talking through, and that doesn't matter though. That's that personalization piece. And I think when you get it on point, like great customer service, like a great card experience, or like a great marketing experience, it elevates your relationship with that brand. And I think that's what that's what hyper personalization has the power to do for us when it's done properly. And I know it's, a lot of it's funded by, whether it's algorithms or old school logic versus the modern AI technology, which allows you to, AI has been using it for years to do that personalization, but we're getting savvier about it now. And I think people who can really understand what they're trying to achieve through hyper-personalization and the way they're marketing, they're going to start seeing way better results at the back end if they just take that 5 or 10 or 20 minutes at the start to ask that question, what is the experience I want my customer to have, as opposed to how do I sell more widgets?
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you a prime example of where it fell down in my own business today. Is that we've got this great system set up in the back end, is that they sign up for Canva Club, for example. It then automatically adds a tag to them, and then that automatically starts this whole flow of emails that go immediately, then 48 hours, then blah, 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 to remind them to prepare them this way. Here's the Zoom link, et cetera, excuse me, in the process of getting them to, when they start Canva Club. So I got this message at 5 a.m. from a client who's in Dubai. And he said, I'm really worried. I haven't found the Zoom link. I haven't really heard anything. What's happening? So it turns out, after a lot of deep diving and finding what on earth had happened, is that he hadn't bought it in the normal way. So he'd actually clearly looked at the price, then decided just to transfer the money. And so I hadn't seen that come in. He'd also sent an email that had ended up in the spam. And so that he wasn't then into the system. It then didn't trigger any of the stuff, but it was a good eye-opener for me. A, how well it's working when it works, but B, to remember the system doesn't suit everyone. He clearly didn't want to buy in that way. So in future, I need to obviously do better directing people and saying, this is the only way you can buy it. Otherwise, let me know, or whatever it is. I've got to really figure out what's the best way forward. But it was interesting to see how when something doesn't get triggered, then nothing works.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great example because we're only focusing on the 80% of our market. And of course, we need to. You can't necessarily personalize it for every individual's whim of, can I give you a check? Can I do a bank transfer? Can I come and give you cash at your door? Because there are still people who want to operate outside the traditional system, for a better term. And we need to have a kind of common way of doing it. But what are those outliers, right? When you see those outliers, how do you capture them and then bring them back into the fold? Whether it is hey, if you want to play outside the space from our standard, that's cool. But then you need to go and complete this form, which allows you, which will then trigger your MailChimp or your Keep system. So what are those extra outliers that you need to do? And I guess that also, for me, reminds us that it's not set and forget. Marketing is not set and forget. Your sales process isn't just build it once and walk away and hope that money comes in. That's great if you're on Amazon and it's a single source of truth and you're only purchasing in one way and you've only got one way of doing it. If in fact it will deliver to your hometown, right? But for most people, and particularly in the work that we do, it's that constant revision of, okay, what's working, what's not, what did that tell me, what do I need to tweak, what do I need to change? And that's where analytics and the data that we see and the ad information that we get from the back end analytics really helps us understand what to do better and how to build it. I know you've talked about that before when we're talking about, particularly our customer journey and looking at our customer pathway, recognizing all those touch points and being really understanding about what are the analytics around that touch points. Where are you playing? Is it Insta? Is it LinkedIn? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Where are you playing? And making sure that your process aligns to that customer journey, wherever that journey is, right?
100%. And even just down to the most basic of platforms you might be using for your email marketing, making sure that you're personalizing with the person's name, therefore hyper-personalization rather than just generic, hey, Dal, because hey, Dal is going to make me switch off. It's not going to make me read your stuff. So also, if you can, remember to put the name in the subject line. If you're sending out those automated things, it really helps in terms of an open rate. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. And I think if there's one thing we take away, it's the importance in this day and age of connecting with people. And even if it's an automated system, making sure A, that it's working well, but B, that it gives your customers what they need.
I completely agree. And I think what I'm loving about, and we talked last week, and that in, starting in the next couple of weeks, we're doing the growth trio, and we've got, we're doing, between you and myself and Ash, from the Happy Therapist, are all going out to do this amazing kind of engagement Facebook, and so live in-person conversation, because that's also us recognizing that there are many of our customers who still want to connect with us in person. So providing the growth trio is a way for those customers to actually touch and feel us and get it, positively, and get engaged with us and have a conversation and talk to us in person and all those things. I'm pretty sure I said way too many bad things in that sentence. However, but the growth trio is about that in-person conversation, because so you can actually say, tell me your story and let me feedback immediately to you. And I know we're starting with that conversation about business and vision. And that, for me, I get excited and get engaged when I've got someone telling me, tell me what you want to do with your business, and me being able to draw on a whiteboard in front of them, because I want them to know that I'm hearing them and listening to them. Ash does the same thing in the way that she manages mindset. But what I'm going to love about that session, particularly when I get to sit back in the afternoon, is when we talk about how we're using AI and how we're really, and you're going to be talking about AI and that integration of AI into your digital marketing platform, is really a way that people can actually get in touch literally with doing that and start to get really practical tips to do exactly what we've been talking about today. So it's that kind of, we've recognized the market. We didn't sit back and go, you know what, we're loving online. We don't really want to see people in person. Let's just keep doing this. We recognize there are many of our customers who want us to see us face to face, be in the room with us, have those conversations over the water cooler and over the tea break. And that's what we're giving them, because we recognize that value.
Absolutely. And then in the evenings, we've got our networking dinners that anyone can come along to. You don't have to have attended the workshop. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Really excited. We've got Byron coming up. Then we've got Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and we're pumped for it, aren't we, Jenny?
I'm so excited. If you haven't heard about it, you missed our last podcast. Why? Firstly, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. But if you haven't seen us, check out any of our socials, my socials, even the Happy Therapist or Kylie's socials at hellomedia.team, and we've got lots of information about the growth trio. So check it out, and you might be able to come and see us in person. But to find those socials, to find and connect us before our next podcast, Kylie, how can people connect with you?
Just head straight to hellomedia.team. All the socials, you can connect with me through that. And I look forward to, hopefully seeing you in person somewhere around the country. What about you, Jenny? How can they connect with you?
Elephant in the Room AU is the best way to find us. You can find that on our website, elephantintheroomau.com, or on any of our socials at Elephant in the Room AU. Again, you can find all the links to the growth trio. You can find the links to some of the previous chats we've had, particularly around AI and that engagement piece. Make sure you check it out. If you're still unsure about what hyper-personalization is, just basically think about it as centrally putting your customer first and making sure that you're meeting your customer where they're at, and join them on the journey. Don't create a whole new journey for them that kind of maybe, pulls them away from where you actually want them to be, I guess.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. I love it.
Thank you, Kylie. It's always good to catch up with you on a Monday morning. Thank you to everyone who's joined us and listening in today. I appreciate you joining us for Bite Size Business Life podcast. As I said, make sure you subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Have an amazing day. Stay safe. See you later.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.